This year, there's a raging debate going on about who should be the 2018 Horse of the Year. Should it be a horse that had a brilliant, yet oh-so-brief career that only spanned 5 months and included an undefeated run through the Triple Crown, only to be retired soon after? Or should it be a horse that ran all year, lost only once, and capped off his season winning the Breeders' Cup Classic against the best in training? The winner of this debate will not be revealed until the end of January, but it did get me thinking a little to see if there ever might have been a situation where something similar was being debated when it came to year-end honors. I settled on the years of 1977 and 1978 as a possibility. Now granted, I was only 4 months old at the time the award would have been handed out in 1978, so I don't really know if it meets the criteria of what is being debated today, but let's take a look back at a decade when winning the Triple Crown was almost becoming commonplace after such a long drought.
Sign it, still Seattle Slew, and he's opened it out to 4.5. Then Run Dusty Run and Sanhedrin.
The $17,500 bargain of a colt had reached the levels of the immortals on that June afternoon in 1977, sweeping to a grand victory in the Belmont Stakes to be the first horse ever to win the Triple Crown as an undefeated horse. Looking to extend that streak out on the West Coast, despite trainer Turner's strong objections to going, Seattle Slew was soundly beaten for the first time in the Swap Stakes. That race would serve to be his last as a 3-year-old after coming down with a life-threatening illness that kept him out of training for the rest of the year. Some had looked at the competition he beat in the Triple Crown races as inferior. Sound familiar? Although most did agree winning the Triple Crown was enough to secure Horse of the Year honors. Again, not being born till the following year, I have no idea if this debate raged on or not. But the champion older horse of that year was one who was beloved by so many and a household name at that point, the mighty Forgo. Coming off 3 straight Horse of the Year titles and winning such prestigious races as the Met Mile and the Woodward Stakes, a race pattern he had repeated multiple times over those last few championship years, why could he not be considered a true Horse of the Year? Tradition of winning the crown appeared to win out here in voters' minds, though, and Slew took the top honors, while Forgo took home champion older horse for the 4th straight year.
He's holding
Flash
on
forward
to
now to June 1978.
Of him and challenging that lead. The two are heads apart, and Alidar's got a lead. Alidar put ahead in front, right in the middle of the stretch. It's Alidar and Affirmed battling back along the inside. We'll test these two to the wire. Affirmed under a left-hand whip. Alidar on the outside driving. Affirmed and Alidar heads apart. Affirmed's got a nose in front as they come on to the wire.
Affirmed had won the Triple Crown, and done so against a foe that certainly would have won it himself in any other year. Meanwhile, Seattle Slew was finally on the mend, and by August had won just a couple of allowance races as new trainer Doug Peterson worked to get him back to championship form. After a gutsy come-from-behind win in the Jim Dandy, Affirmed clashed with his foe one final time in the Travers, a race that will forever stir debate of its own as Affirmed cut off Alidar going into the far turn after the latter appeared to be making a winning move. Affirmed was disqualified and placed second behind Alidar, who remarkably somehow got up to be second under the wire. Again, many felt that winning the Triple Crown against a foe such as Alidar was more than enough to claim Horse of the Year. However, something was waiting in the wings that fall for racing that had never before happened in history. After just missing in the Patterson Handicap at the Meadowlands, Seattle Slew was finally starting to look like his old self and was being pointed for the prestigious Marlboro Cup. Who else was being pointed for that race? Why, none other than Affirmed. It was the first time in history 2 Triple Crown winners met on the racetrack. Conventional wisdom usually holds that a really good 4-year-old will beat a really good 3-year-old. And that wisdom did hold true here in the Marlboro, as Seattle Slew got an easy first quarter and never looked back, winning by 4.
And Cox's Ridge is the trailer. Only 7 lengths separates the first horse and the last into the turn. 47 seconds, a half mile with Slew still in front.
He leads it 2.5, maintaining the same margin. Affirmed is second by 3/4 with Nasty and Bold third by 2.5. Cox's Ridge on the outside moves up a bit. Darby Creek Road, they're all driving, but they've got Seattle Slew to catch as they come to the head of the stretch. 3/4 in 10 and 1, and it's Seattle Slew holding the lead in the center of the racetrack. He's made it 3.5 lengths. Affirmed is taking up the chase on the inside, but it's still Seattle Slew who's holding on. Nearing the finish, Seattle Slew has it by 4. Affirmed, Fireback, Nasty and Bold.
Slew went on to win the Woodward as well before facing off with Affirmed again in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. In those days, the Gold Cup was considered the ultimate year-end race that everyone wanted to win, and held huge implications for year-end honors. It would be no easy cakewalk on the lead this time for anyone, though, as Slew and Affirmed were pushed through a suicidal half-mile in 45 and 1. Affirmed's saddle had slipped a little, and so he could not be well controlled, allowing Slew to eventually begin to pull away as they came to the head of the stretch. But a new challenge awaited there, and a stretch-long battle ensued that many racing historians say was actually probably the best performance ever put on by Seattle Slew, even though he fell a nose short.
On the turn, still Slew, and he's got it 2.5. Affirmed is picking up a bit of ground on the turn. Then it's a gap of 5, and here comes Exceller. He's got it in gear, and he's flying now at the leader. Further back, 1 cut above. They come going ahead of the stretch. Slew still 2.5. Here comes Exceller to the inside. Shoemaker makes his move at Seattle Slew. It is Seattle Slew, Exceller along the inside. Those two heads apart, but it's Exceller who has a head in front at the head of the stretch. They went 1.25 miles in 2:01 and 4, and they're battling it out. Still Slew hanging in there. Exceller has the inside. It's Exceller along the inside. Seattle Slew on the outside. This is a real battle onto the wire, but Exceller gets a narrow lead as they pass the 16th pole. Seattle Slew coming back again. At the finish, this is going to be tight. I see Exceller winning it. It's Seattle Slew second.
Slew would go on to win his final start in the Stuyvesant Handicap at Aqueduct, while Affirmed did not race again that year. Surely the fact that Slew had beaten Affirmed twice this year while taking home 2 of the 3 top older handicap races of the fall would be enough for Horse of the Year, right? Not really, as the history and prestige of the Triple Crown once again won out, and Affirmed was named Horse of the Year, while Slew got Champion Older Horse honors. So there you have at least one look back at some historical perspective of what has occurred when situations such as this year's Horse of the Year debate have arisen. Who will eventually be crowned 2018 Horse of the Year? Will tradition win out? Will the current feeling that horses must race the full year to be considered hold sway? Will this fan's personal feeling that Monomoy Girl should get it over any of them come to pass? Only time, and whatever name is revealed in that envelope, will tell for sure. I'm Doc for Thorofan, and we will see you next time for more fun, history, and a little bit of education right here at Thorofan.